Hello, greetings. So I was discussing something on Roleplayers Guild the other day, and the topic came up on Gor, as it often does. And I will post a link to the debate down there in the topic description. Anyway, one of the things that was mentioned was that in one of the posters nation, the nation I lived in, the Gore books are banned as hate speech. And I was thinking, what the fuck? Basically, it didn't say exactly which nation he was from. I have tried to Google it but not figured it out, so please take this with a grain of salt, as I haven't been able to conclusively say if it's true or not. At least they say it was from one of the G8 nations, and if I'm going to guess, then I would guess Germany, because Germany bans everything. But anyway, this isn't the first time I've heard Gore books described as hate speech. Like, for example, a few years ago, Dark Horse Comics wanted to release the first 3 Gore books as comics, and then they cancelled that plan. I don't know exactly why, but excuse me, wiggling the camera. I don't know exactly why, but that started a flow of debate with a lot of people saying the Gore books shouldn't be published because they are hate speech, and so on and so forth. And it's quite possible that that pressure from those that say that was the reason why Dark Horse decided not to publish the Gore books in comic format. Now, how the hell are the Gore books hate speech? Nobody's being hated, but it's misogynistic. No, like I pointed out in a video that I made, I don't know, a week or two ago, Gore is not misogynistic. Is it, however, sexist? Yes. But is everything that isn't PC currently hate speech? I mean, first of all, the Gore books are fiction. Even those of us who are lifestyle Gorians do recognize that the Gore books are fiction. And 99% of those that read the Gore books read them because they like the fiction. In fact, most people I know that like the Gore books are into them because they're into campy 60s science fiction, and that's what they read like. And I mean, on the surface, I'm completely in agreement with that. When you read the Gore books, they read like campy 60s science fiction, and I never moved on from there. I mean, they're still being published. The last one was published in 2012, and there'll probably be more. And I still read like 60s science fiction, and some people are really into that. So, and then of course you have those that like the sex and the bondage, that read it for that. And it's only a very small minority of Gorians, of people who read the Gore books. I mean, my head isn't working today. Of the people who read the Gore books that actually become Gorians, as in lifestyle Gorians. So, no. And I mean, one of the people in this debate said that no, the Gore books, they encourages people to live this lifestyle. No, it doesn't. Jan Norman was pretty shocked when he heard that his book had spawned a lifestyle, as I imagine about any science fiction author would be. So yeah, it does. Just like the people who live a Jedi lifestyle, there actually are. And what I have said is that it's basically the same thing as we do with Gore, so that the mix of Theism, Buddhism, and so on that you find in the concept of the Jedi is something that speaks to them. And as such, they have chosen to accept that as a lifestyle, that as a religion. But that doesn't mean that the Star Wars movies encourages such a lifestyle. Now, don't take this the wrong way. I am not in any way, shape or form ashamed of being Gorian. But, I mean, you can't say that the books encourages people to hold these views in their everyday life. They are fiction. And basically, I mean, some of the things that really drew me into the books long before I could even consider becoming a Gorian was that they were so non-politically correct. And I mean, did they at times insult me as a woman? Yeah, they did. But, I mean, I really liked the idea that here you had an actual alien society that had a different morality than we have here on Earth. And you didn't have a hero on a white horse that rode in at the end of the story and changed all their morality. I mean, because you have had that many times, you have had alien societies that have had slavery or had things that we consider wrong by the standard Western idea of morality. But then always the hero or heroes or whatever come in and that morality is changed by the end of it. I mean, take Star Trek. You have the Ferengi. They are little greedy aliens. And they have an extreme patriarchal society where the women are the property of the men. The women have no right. They're not even allowed to learn to read and write, and they have to be naked all the time. By the end of Deep Space Nine, they have changed that, and women's rights have come to Ferengi. Now, I think that was a pretty good plotline. That's not my point. My point is that's what usually happens. And it was refreshing to see a science fiction piece that didn't follow that norm. And I mean, are we going to label anything hate speech that doesn't follow some idea of a norm? In addition, to my mind, hate speech is when you encourages people to hurt others, and that's hate speech. Saying, God hate the gays, so you should go out and shoot them. That's hate speech. Writing a piece of fiction where gay people are put in a negative light, for example, that's not hate speech. I think you should be very careful about labeling something as hate speech. In addition, personally, I think that the only thing that should be forbidden is to encourage violence. I do not think you should be allowed to encourage enacting violence on others. Other than that, I think that you can hate as much as you want. I mean, I'm bisexual, and when somebody says gays and bisexuals, and they just rave around, of course I think they're idiots. And of course sometimes what I say is hurtful. I don't think they should be forbidden from saying it. I mean, what you do when you see somebody say something you don't agree with isn't that you outlaw it. What you do is that you step forward and you say, no, I don't agree with this. It's like Noam Chomsky. He defended this guy who had written a book about how Holocaust never happened. Yeah. And people were all over Noam Chomsky's ass about it and said, but you're a Nazi and so on and so forth. And he said, no, don't agree with a single word in that book. It's despicable, but he didn't agree with the book being banned and that this author should be just run out of town, which he was in Norway actually when he came to speak at a literary conference, and I don't agree with that. I mean, of course I think his views are despicable, just like Noam Chomsky do, but basically, unless you have freedom of speech, and that is absolute, it's not worth anything. I mean, in Norway we have saying that goes like this. Du skal ikke tåle så inderlig vel den urett som ikke rammer deg selv. Which translates as, you should not so readily accept the injustice that doesn't affect yourself. Meaning that even if you don't agree with a piece of writing or something somebody is saying, unless you defend the freedom of speech itself, the next time it could be your favorite book series, it could be what you are trying to say, and so on, which are being banned. So yeah, I'm going to try not to go too far off on topic. To me, the freedom of speech is extremely important, but yeah, let me stay on the topic on gore and hate speech. Basically, why I think it's silly to call the gore books hate speech is that it doesn't. The only thing the gore books really do is that it say that there are a difference between men and women. That's at the core of it. It says, from nature's point of view, there are a difference between men and women. It's not just that one person has a boob and the other has a dick. There are more differences between us than that. It also says that women are by nature more submissive than men. Now, of course, in the books this is taken to the extreme that all women are extremely submissive and no woman is ever happy unless they are slaves, and so on and so forth and so forth. But the point is that the gore books are basically escapist fantasy from an author who was very, very frustrated with the feminism that was going on. And you have to remember that the time the gore books were written, that was in the middle of the bra burning era, so I can sort of understand him. And I mean, you don't get a bigger Marty Stew than Tal Cabot. He is the author's avatar, basically, going off into another world where he is extremely important and fights aliens with swords and gets to bone pretty women. And you have to take it for what it is. And basically, so of course a lot of these things will be exaggerated, but at the core of the books, basically what you find is just the idea that men and women are fundamentally different. Now, of course, like I have said, I think that you have women who are very masculine and you have men who are very feminine, and that's okay. But the vast majority of women are different from the vast majority of men. And another thing that's at the core of what the gore books say is that human beings are happier when you live more akin to what nature ascribes. That the equality we have in the West, and not really the equality of what you have as rights, but how people behave, that sort of creates a disconnect with us, because then we are trying to be something we are not. And I mean, for me it was very liberating when I first read the gore books, because I started to feel that it was okay to be a woman. That's one of the reasons why I decided to become a Gorian, because I've always been a tomgirl. As you can see, I don't use makeup, I like computer games, I do a lot of the things that boys like. And most of my friends are men. And it might be because I have Asperger's syndrome that I have a problem understanding of the very complex social games, I guess I could call it, of other girls. So that I've always been more comfortable around men. And as such, I always felt that I had to suppress my feminine side. I have to be equal with the men, I had to be as strong as the boys, I had to be as tough as the boys, I had to be a boy with boobs. And reading the Gore books, I sort of got over that. And I felt that it was okay to celebrate being women. And really, that's why I feel it's so wrong to call the Gore books hate speech. Because really what it does is it celebrates women. I mean, you don't have to say that we are all the same. Because really that's what equality means. The same. Just listen to what I say when you say math, such and such equals such and such. It means it's the same. 3 plus 2 equals 5. It's the same as 5. So really when you say men and women should be equal, what you're saying is men and women should be the same, and that's where Gorians disagree. We don't think that men and women should be the same. We think that men and women should be celebrated for what they are individually, and that one should accept that there are differences. And I certainly accept that not everybody agree with that. Some might think that there aren't any differences, or that the differences are very minor, and so on and so forth, and that's fine. I don't think the Gorian lifestyle is for everyone. However, to say that the Gore books are hate speech because it has a patriarchal society and female slavery. I mean, read the books. There are so many quotes that are just that goes on and on and on about praising women, their beauty, their intelligence, and that's not hating. It's having a different view of women, and I think it's a very dangerous path to go down, to them sort of demonize everything that has a non-politically correct idea of what men and women should be. So the Gore books present women as beautiful, loving, caring, intelligent beings who often are the reason why men get up in the morning, the reason why men fight, the reason why men have a family, the reason for a man's hope and dreams. How is that hate? Yes, the Gore book says that women are submissive and men are dominant, and that for most cases people are the most happy when that's how you live. It doesn't have to be a slave. I'm not a slave. But when you live as a submissive woman and a dominant man. And for me, I happen to believe that. But you don't have to believe that. You can think that's completely wrong. But how does it make it hate? I mean, my free companion is the most loving, kind man you've ever met. He puts me on a pedestal. How is it hate then? He thinks there's a difference between me and him based on our gender. I would say that the Gore books aren't hate speech, it's love speech. It presents an enormous love for both women and men, and a love for life, for nature, and for humanity. That's what is at the core of the books. Love. Love for women as the books think women naturally is. Love for men, for how the books think men naturally is. And love for nature that has created us all. How is that hate? So I mean, you can dislike the Gore books by all means. And there's a lot of things that can be criticized about them. But don't call them hate speech, because that's just silly. They aren't. There are so many ugly things in the world. Don't attack something that is just an innocent series of science fiction books that has a few people who has chosen it as a basis for a lifestyle. Just because you disagree with our worldview. We will not force you to have our worldview. We're not going to go and kidnap anyone, rape anyone, or do anything like that. We just want to study the philosophies, and live with our lifestyle in peace. And for others who are not Gorian, who just enjoy the Gore books, they just want to have their campy, escapist, sexy 60s science fiction in peace. It's not hate speech. Not everything that are not politically correct are hate speech. So yeah, rant over for this time. Be well.